Have you ever been in so much danger that you didn't know whether to run, hide, or fight? That's exactly where David was. One wrong step, one wrong word, and it could cost him his life. He wasn't safe in the palace. He wasn't safe in the fields. And even out in the wilderness, someone was hunting him. But this time, danger wasn't just coming for David. It was coming for an entire city. And David had to decide, would he risk everything to save them? To save himself? Far away, in the city of Keilah, there was trouble. A swarm of Philistine soldiers had swept in like hungry locusts. They weren't there to visit. They were there to steal the grain, the food that kept the people alive. The villagers shouted for help, but who could save them? Back in the hills, David heard the cries. Messengers told him, "The Philistines are attacking Keilah and stealing their food." David's heart pounded. He wanted to help, but there was a problem. King Saul was still hunting him. If David came out of hiding, Saul could find him easily. So David did something wise. He prayed. "Lord," he asked, "should I go and fight these Philistines?" God's answer was clear. "Go, save Keilah." David turned to his men, about 600 warriors who had been living in caves and hiding in the wilderness with him. But they looked worried. "David," they said, "we're scared here in Judah already, and now you want us to fight an entire Philistine army in Keilah?" David could see the fear in their eyes. So, he prayed again. And once again God answered, "Go, I will give you victory." That was all David needed to hear. "Men," he said, "pack up. We march to Keilah." The road to Keilah was dusty and dangerous, but David's men moved quickly. By the time they arrived, the Philistines had already taken some of the grain and were preparing to take more. "Now!" David shouted. His men charged, swords flashing in the sunlight. The clash of metal rang through the streets. Clang, clang, clang. The people of Keilah watched from behind walls as David's warriors pushed the Philistines back, step by step, until they were gone. The victory was complete. And not only was the city safe, David and men returned all the stolen grain. The people of Keilah cheered, but David's heart was heavy. He had just saved an entire city, but now everyone knew where he was. And far away, in his palace, King Saul heard the news. "David is in Keilah," Saul said with a smile. "Good. That's a city with gates and bars. He can't escape now. Soldiers, get ready. We ride at once." But David heard about Saul's plan. Once again, he prayed. "Lord, will Saul come here to attack me?" God said, "Yes." David asked again, "Will the people of Keilah hand me over to Saul?" And God's answer broke his heart. "Yes, they will." David didn't get angry. He didn't shout at the people he had just saved. He understood. They were afraid of Saul too. So before Saul arrived, David gathered his men and slipped out of Keilah. They became shadows in the wilderness once more, moving from hill to hill, cave to cave, never staying in one place for long. And everywhere he went, Saul kept hunting him. One day, while David was hiding in the desert of Ziph, he heard footsteps. Was it Saul's army? No, it was Jonathan, Saul's own son, and David's best friend. Jonathan found David and said, "Don't be afraid. My father will not lay a hand on you. One day you will be king over Israel, and I will be by your side." The two friends prayed together. It was the last time they would ever meet, but David's heart was stronger now. But the danger wasn't over. Saul's men tracked David to the wilderness of Maon. They split up, half coming from one side of the mountain, half from the other. David and his men were trapped. Just as Saul's army closed in, a messenger ran to Saul shouting, "Quick! The Philistines are attacking our land." Saul had no choice. He turned back to fight the Philistines, and David escaped. And so, David's life was spared, again. He had trusted God in battle. He had listened to God in danger. And no matter how close trouble came, God made a way out. Because when God has a plan for your life, no enemy, no army, and no king can stop it. Trust God's direction, even when you're afraid. He sees the whole picture, and he knows the way to safety. Case at Keilah solved. David escapes Saul's trap. But the trail leads us to En-Gedi, a wilderness of caves and springs. And there, David comes face to face with Saul at En-Gedi. Let's see what happens when Saul and David meet at En-Gedi. David was on the run. Not because he was a bad man. No, David loved God and had served King Saul faithfully. But Saul was jealous. People sang songs about David, and Saul worried that David might take his throne. One day, Saul heard a rumor. David is hiding in the desert of En-Gedi. En-Gedi was a wild place, tall cliffs, hidden caves, and springs of water. It was the perfect place to hide. But Saul didn't come alone. He brought 3,000 of Israel's best soldiers to search for David. As they walked by some sheep pens near the road, Saul saw a cave and went inside to rest. But here's the surprise. David and his men were hiding deep inside that very cave. David's men's eyes grew wide. They whispered, "David, this is it. This is the day the Lord promised. He's delivered your enemy into your hands. Do what you want with him." David quietly crept forward. The cave was silent except for the soft sound of Saul's breathing. David got close enough to touch him, but instead of hurting him, David carefully cut off a small corner of Saul's robe. Right after he did it, David's heart began to pound. He felt wrong about it. "I shouldn't have done that," he told his men. "The Lord forbid that I should harm my master, the Lord's anointed king. We will not attack him." So David held his men back, and Saul left the cave, not knowing what had happened. David waited a moment, then stepped out into the bright sunlight. He called out, "My lord the king." Saul turned, and there was David, bowing low to the ground. "Why do you believe people who say I want to harm you?" David asked. "Today the Lord gave me a chance to hurt you, but I didn't. See this piece of your robe? I cut it off, but I didn't kill you. I have done nothing wrong, yet you are chasing me to take my life." David spoke with respect, but also truth. "May the Lord judge between you and me, but I will never lift my hand against you. Who is the king of Israel chasing? A dead dog? A flea?" When Saul heard David's words, he began to cry. "You are more righteous than I," Saul said. "You've treated me kindly, though I treated you badly. I know you will be king one day. Please promise me that you won't destroy my family when that happens." David promised. Then Saul went home, but David and his men stayed in the wilderness. Some time passed. The people of Ziph went to Saul and told him exactly where David was hiding. "He's on the hill of Hakilah, facing the desert." Saul set out again with 3,000 soldiers. David heard about it and sent scouts to check. Yes, Saul's army had camped on the hill, with the king sleeping in the middle, his spear stuck in the ground beside his head. Around him, Abner, the commander, and the soldiers slept. That night, David quietly entered the camp with a brave soldier named Abishai. Everyone was in a deep sleep. The Bible says the Lord had made them sleep soundly. Abishai whispered, "This is your chance. God has given your enemy into your hands. Let me strike him with his own spear. I won't have to do it twice." But David shook his head. "No, who can harm the Lord's chosen king and be innocent? The Lord himself will deal with Saul. Maybe he will die in battle or from old age, but I will not harm him. Now take the spear and the water jug by his head, and let's go." They took the items and left, climbing a hill far away. From there, David called out across the valley, "Abner, aren't you going to answer me?" Abner woke up, confused. "Who are you who calls to the king?" David's voice was sharp but fair. "You're supposed to protect your king, Someone came to destroy him, and you didn't guard him. Look, where is the king's spear and water jug?" Saul recognized David's voice. "Is that you, David, my son?" David answered, "Yes, my lord the king. Why are you chasing me? What have I done wrong? The king of Israel is hunting me like a flea, like a partridge in the mountains." Saul's voice was heavy. "I have sinned. Come back, David, my son. Because you valued my life today, I will not harm you again. I have acted foolishly." David called back, "Here is your spear. Send one of your young men to get it. The Lord rewards those who do what is right. Just as I spared your life today, may he spare mine and rescue me from all trouble." Saul blessed him. "May you be blessed, David, my son. You will do great things and surely succeed." Then they went their separate ways. Saul returned home, and David continued his journey. It was the last time they ever saw each other alive. David had 2 chances to hurt Saul, but he refused. Why? Because he trusted God's timing and wanted to do what was right, even when it was hard. Sometimes, doing the right thing means waiting patiently and showing kindness, even to people who aren't kind to you. Miriam, David had the perfect chance to strike Saul here in En-Gedi, but instead he chose mercy. And we found 5 lessons from this case. Lesson 1, self-control. Don't act just because you can. Lesson 2, respect authority even when it's tough. Lesson 3, let God handle revenge. Lesson 4, kindness softens hearts. Lesson 5, trust God's timing. And that's what we uncovered at En-Gedi. Lessons for life today. Don't miss out on our next Bible adventure.